This is Out Loud and Laughing.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to such a special episode of Out Loud and Laughing. I'm so thrilled to introduce you to Pedro Pina to the pod today with Jon and I. He not only runs YouTube in Europe, Africa, and the Middle East, but he is also a force in the industry, our community, and my dear friend. So Jon and I are super excited to deep dive in with you, Pedro, across so many amazing topics. But first, just wanted to give you the space to say hi to our viewers and a little bit about yourself.
Hello, everyone. Bryan and Jon, thank you for inviting me. I've been a fan of your podcast. I've been listening to it for a while. So when you guys reached out and invited me to be here, I just couldn't believe it. So thank you. Thank you for the honor. I just hope it's going to be minimally entertaining. So what do you need to know about me? So I was born in Lisbon a long, long time ago. Let's leave it at that. I've lived in four corners of the world. I lived in, of course, in my native Portugal, which is now very popular. I gotta say, lots of people from the US moving to Portugal and buying houses and all that. I lived in the US for a significant amount of time, Brazil, Spain. So I've been all over the place, but I've been now living in London for about 15 years or more. And I'm married to a Mexican corporate lawyer who works in the city of London. And we have two amazing kids, 6 and 3, which of course are everything in our lives. And I also double as the executive sponsor for the Pride community at YouTube globally, so which is something I'm incredibly proud of. And it's an important work that needs to be done. And I've been doing that kind of similar work for Google in Europe as well. So thank you for having me.
Man of the world. Thank you for sharing that with us. We're definitely excited to dig into all of the amazing things you're working on at YouTube. And of course, we're going to reserve a little bit of time to talk about how these worlds cross over with your personal life too. It sounds like you're incredibly passionate though about this impactful role you have at YouTube. So I'm curious, what sort of trends, like, now that we're here on this podcast, obviously geared towards an LGBTQ audience, what sort of trends do you see emerging on YouTube as it pertains to this community? And another question, how is the platform positioned to sort of be this North Star, right, for content creators, and especially for those who engage with our stories in our community specifically?
I mean, YouTube is having a great is going through a great phase right now. This year we completed 20 years. So it's
Wow.
quite, we've been spending the whole year celebrating 20 years, which is phenomenal. So I've blue candles everywhere around the region as we are celebrating this incredible milestone. And clearly YouTube is the place where people come to learn and be entertained more and more. And the strength of it is, of course, the YouTube creators that everyone knows some YouTuber, if not a bunch, that they follow. The incredibly trusting bond that they have with those creators is incredibly important for us, and those are the ones that actually build our audience on a global level. We have billions of people connecting to us every day. And we provide entertainment in all shapes, devices, and forms across the world, which is an incredible feat if you think about it. I mean, you can be walking on the street of any faraway city everywhere around the world, and you just come up with a desire to watch a video of some TV series from a long time ago. You search it, and all of a sudden you have a high quality video being delivered on your device, regardless of the operating system, regardless of the size of your device, whether it's a tablet, if you have it on a mobile phone, regardless of the make of the YouTube of the mobile phone, your desktop in your living room, the big device in the living room is where we see some of the biggest growth around the world. So what we are committed to is to give you the content that you want when you want, no matter. And I think we do it tremendously successfully, and you can see that through our stats and also how we delivered in our formats, to your point. So long time ago, when we started 20 years ago, it was just a short little movie, and people started started uploading long form videos, and this is how people know us. There's long form videos on desktop, essentially. Nowadays, it's short form video, it's live streams that people do, podcasts like today. Podcasting is a huge trend. And everyone is in love with podcasts. Everyone wants to listen to podcasts, and they are a massive trend that we're following. People used to see everything on desktop, as I said. Now everyone wants to see the content they absolutely adore in the big screen at home. Um, and this is regardless of our community or not. But when it comes to our community, the LGBT community, the one thing that a LGBTQ plus historian once told me is that there is a before and after YouTube arrived in the lives of our community. And I will never forget what he told me. He told me that it was the arrival of YouTube that allowed people, anyone, to speak to a camera and declare their identity. Before, you would not have the opportunity to speak to a camera and say, I am gay. That would never happen. The gay community was described by third parties. It used to be described by journalists. It used to be described by the media. There would be books written about it, but they would never have a voice, and they would never have a personal voice. And YouTube allowed literally everyone around the world to be able, if they wanted, to actually declare their identity. And this was not restricted only on people in big cities like San Francisco or New York. You could be in the middle of the US, in a small town, and all of a sudden you did not feel alone anymore. You would have a community you could connect with. And you also could learn from others on how to either cope with your new identity, how to live outside of the closet, or even how to live inside of the closet. You would see other people and how they thrived or survived and how they cope, and learn how to do it as well. And so I'm incredibly proud of I have to say, I'm already proud of the role that ultimately we ended up playing in the LGBTQ community. Majority of people now know what pride means. They understand the flag, they understand the colors, they understand the taxonomy, the vocabulary. They connect with the community because they can see themselves and others on YouTube, and that was not possible. It was a very lonely place before, and just like that, you connected the entire community on a global level, which is incredible.
It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's also interesting because all three of us here didn't have this, and so many younger people in our communities now have an outlet to be able to see themselves, right? Where we all kind of were a little more insular. So I completely agree with the platform and everything that it's done. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Pedro, I know you well because I daylight during the day at Google as well. So given your leadership role at YouTube, I'm always fascinated with how you find the time to obviously do amazing things on the platform, like you just spoke about, and what this platform is doing for our community. But you also have a really good energy, and you do a lot with having a powerful voice with the LGBTQ plus community outside of work as well. How do you weave these two worlds together?
I think that's one thing is who you are, and the other thing is what you do. What you do is to lead the YouTube business in Europe, Middle East, and Africa, as you said before. And what that means is my task on a daily basis is to make sure that we have a healthy ecosystem of content present on the platform, from the small kid that starts yesterday to upload its video from its bedroom all the way up to a big, broadcaster company like the BBC or ITV, or a big TV studio or film studio, and everything in between. So that is my day-to-day job. But a separate topic is my identity and who I am. It's not what I do, but who I am. And what a choice that I've made was being very visible about who I am, my identity. I don't believe there's anything to hide, but more importantly, I go back to the time where I was a young kid and I found out that I was gay, and I would look up and have literally no role models. And when I say role models, I'm not talking about success. I'm not talking about professional
Right.
achievement. I'm literally talking about having, let's call it a regular life. I remember thinking when I was, I don't know, 11, 12, looking up and thinking, well, looks like either I'm my future, in the future, I'm either Freddie Mercury or my mom's hairdresser. I mean, these were the options, right?
Yeah.
Because I felt that those were the only two careers where somehow these people got a pass. That's what I felt. You know, you have a bunch of women going to hairdresser and to their hairdresser, their hairdresser is visibly part of the community, and apparently that's fine. And or Freddie Mercury or Elton John, and that seems to be fine as well. But there was nothing in between. And I remember thinking, what if I just want to work in government or be a teacher or just have I want to get married, just have a normal life and apparently or a common life, if you will. And apparently that was not even an option. If it was an option, it was not in display. And she felt incredibly lonely. So I decided, as I made my as I went through life, I decided, you know, I just want to make sure that by being visible, at least I can show to others what is possible. It's okay to get married. It's okay to have kids. It's okay to have a career. It's okay to, um, and as I always say, there's nothing different about being gay apart from 20 minutes in overnight, but that's about it. Everything else is we wake up in the morning and we take showers, we are surprised, and we go to the supermarket, we fall asleep in front of the TV, and we are late to meetings, and we some people dress up really well, some people don't. People have taste, some people don't. Some people have kids, some people don't. Some people have dogs, some people don't. We have a relative in average, a gay person has a very boring life like everyone else, just a very common life. There's nothing special or different about our lives. And in a way, the visibility that I provide is just to say that. Just like it's okay. It's your life is the same as everybody else's. It's
I think
beautiful.
it's so beautiful, and I think it's also really powerful, you know, the way that you framed it up with, who you are versus what you do, really, like, speaks to the power of us as an individual, sort of, and how we're perceived, so, thanks for even, like, bubbling that up. In many ways, Pedro, it sounds like this idea of, like, leadership drives your life, and personal life ambitions. If it's not too personal, how do you balance that with your personal life? I gather you're a father. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. Do you want to share about your family?
Sure. So if we're going to talk about identity, and if I would have to do a pyramid of identity, I'm first a father. Everything else comes after. An executive happens to be LGBT. I don't care. So the moment you become, and Brian may relate to this,
Hmm.
but some people don't. I mean, this is, by the way, this is not true for everybody. For me, it's definitely true. Father comes first and foremost, and nothing else. I mean, and eclipses. I mean, the number two is actually number five. So like the number one is being a father. And the way that manifests itself is on the choices I make in terms of time allocation. I absolutely make sure that if I don't have to travel for work, I'll do the school drops. I'll take care of the kids. I'll do the homework at the end of the day. I love doing all the chores that people usually don't like about parenthood. That's where you
Same.
want my happy place is get me to bathe my kids in the evening or give them dinner, which of course the whole thing is a rodeo. And but that's what I love, or literally lying down with them in bed and reading them bedtime stories every day. It's the happiest thing. Doing the school drops in the morning is my happy place. So this is what I absolutely love doing. Everything else comes as a consequence, and it has to do with life choices. So because I make that choice, there's other things I can't do. There's lots of really important meetings. I live in London. A lot of the power gravitational pull sits in California. So I would have lots of evening meeting if I should,
Mm.
but I don't because my choice is to stay with my kids, and if I have to skip meetings, I'll skip meetings. It's just my option, my choice. And I think that's what I would say about parenthood is, and especially for LGBTQ people more than anything else, because we are part of a community, we are free from expectations, at least from normal society. So guess what? You have more degrees of freedom. You can choose whatever you want, for what format you want. And what I would say is, if parenthood is your thing, understand that it will change your life forever structurally. So it's not an add-on. Some people, the one thing that sets me off is when people say, "Well, I'm not sure I'm ready for kids, but I'm trying. We have dogs." I'm like, okay, actually, don't say that, because it's like, don't compare a cat with a child. I mean, it really, well, we're learning responsibility. No, you're not. No, actually, you're not. That's actually not true.
The
So,
fact that
so,
you have to
so
like,
you
yeah.
are
Defend
learning
it.
to pick up poo or whatever. It's not like, it has nothing to, like, don't even compare. But when you decide to have children, it is not an add-on to your life. It's not something you continue to do all the things you used to do and then you have a child. It's actually, if you really want to do parenting properly, it's a rebuilding of your entire priority system and emotional architecture. And you and you know and So it's just not a feature in your life. It's actually part of the design. It's a redesign of your life. That's how I would describe it.
It's rebuilding. It's like I don't know, Pedro, if you'll agree with this, but you go from now a 9 to 5 job to a 24-hour job, right? So I wake up in the morning and I'm in dad hat. I am doing all the things. I took my daughter to the bus stop, dropped Ollie off at the daycare, and came right back to work. Wear this hat all day, and then they come home and you just take this hat off, put another hat on. So like, there's always just this element of, what hat am I wearing? But I'm always wearing a hat, if that
Oh
makes
yeah,
sense.
totally, 100%, 100%. Yeah,
You know.
but
So
I'm in my case, I don't crave time without them, especially because when you have young kids, and my kids are 6 and 3. When you have young kids, you know that you have them for a while and that's it, and then they're gonna depart. I was reading the other day that being a parent is the longest heartbreak um, in your life, and it really, really is, because every day they do one more step to stay away from you, as they should. They are learning to be independent, and when you're a parent, you live in this permanent paradox of, you want them to be independent, but actually you don't want them to be independent. You want them to grow, and you actually don't want them to
correct.
grow. You just want a moment of silence. And when you have a moment of silence, you want them to come back quickly. You would just want the weekend for you. And then the first hour you are without them, you're like, where are my
Yeah.
kids? And where did my weekend go? So, um, yeah, I
Yeah.
highly recommend for those who believe it's their thing.
I agree. It's changed my life for the better, even with all the chaos. I think the one thing that's interesting
Because of the
about
chaos. It's because of the
it's
chaos.
it's because of the chaos,
Yeah.
right? And the one thing I love about our friendship is that I feel like you and I were on similar timelines with starting our family. Kenzie's 6 and Ollie is 4,
Yeah.
so we were very much on the same
Yeah.
track. And I also think, and we've talked about this before, no one talks too much about, or there's been limited resources of how gay people start families, right? Whether it's adoption or surrogacy or however you're building your family. And so, what advice would you have for professionals looking to start a family? Some might feel it's a little more mechanical because, it's not as quote unquote sexy to start a family versus the emotional. So, like, what kind of advice would you give?
Yeah. So I would say a few things. So the first one is, if you talk to straight people, they don't think it's sexy to start a family either.
Yeah.
So there's nothing sexy about that. What I would say is, first of all, the first thing you need to decide is whether you want to do this alone or with a partner. And what you and your partner need to really understand is how life will change forever. How this is not just, and we also have a dog moment. This is actually changing structurally, not only your life, not only your time, not only your resources, not only your attention, but more importantly, one, the emotional structure of your lives. You will love your children more than your partner, you know, spoiler alert. And this creates all sort of things inside the home. And the second thing is, um, this is not an Amazon purchase. You cannot return the kids. So you cannot have remorse as, buyer's remorse. You have to like know what you're doing. And which means that you cannot, unlike straight people, and this is an advantage, you can actually discuss this until the cows go home before you make the decision, before you pull the trigger. You can actually, and you should discuss, what should we do? What can we do? What, how would you react to this? Having endless conversations about educational systems, spank, no spank, put it in school, not school, Montessori or not, approach to discipline, I mean, these things, which, trust me, create lots of friction if they're not discussed ahead of time, need to be discussed before you even have a child in your lap. So that's the first thing. Second thing is surrogacy versus adoption are, it's really what I realized over time is that love is love is love. And once you have, I mean, I know so many people that have adopted kids,
Same.
they feel the same love. I absolutely know that they feel the same love I feel for my children. Our children were done through surrogacy. The love is the same. And so I think each couple needs to find out what's best for them, what feels right for them. There's no playbook on this. It's just whatever feels right for you guys, you just go for it. That's what I would say. It feels very clinical and very technical, because you get an egg and you get a sperm and then you mix it and then you create an embryo and then you put it in. It feels like, but quite frankly, if you look at what straight people do these days, it's pretty much the same. I mean, in vitro, which is the large majority of the cases of pregnancies, it's not that different. Yes, there's the origin of the egg, which is slightly different. You have to pick up from a select group of people, but those are details. What I would say is, don't work up so much around the details. Just know that once that child is in your hands, whether it was adopted or done by surrogacy, it doesn't matter. It won't matter. It will not matter at all. So it's just details. And as I said, there's not that much romance about conception, straight conception. So it's the same here. It's just a little bit more elaborate from a contract standpoint. And then, yeah, that's it. I think that's it.
Well
The
said.
only thing
Well
to
said.
consider. Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense. And, I can totally relate. When I had a dog, I'm just totally kidding. I'm
Do not.
obviously
Do not. Do not.
I'm,
Do not.
I am obviously the odd man in the room. I am childless. But I can't help but think about what you said about once the child is in your arms. I know the first time I met my niece and my nieces and nephews, I just know that feeling, not as a parent, but as an adult who can build that sort of connection with a child. I can only imagine. So I can't relate, but I am also interested, kind of going back. Earlier you were talking about your 11 and 12-year-old self, and you know the days are long, but the years are short, they say. You were even also like mentioning about the kids being only home for a certain amount of time before they, find their independence. I'm curious, if you went back and like looked at your adolescent self, your younger self, like what sort of things would you think you wanted to hear? What type of things that you would pass on to your children? I don't know. It's just interesting to think about those things as a juxtaposition of a thought.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, on your comment on being a childish man and trying to figure out the amount of love that you feel when you have in your nephews or your nieces with you, and I what I could tell you is that uh, the the love that you feel as a parent, usually the way I say it is, words have not yet been invented. And I remember when I was on the other side, so when I didn't have children, and people say, "Oh, Pedro, it's just an amazing thing," and I'm like, "Of course it is. Of course it has
Right.
to be."
Right.
Having no idea what I was talking about, like actually no idea. And now that you are on this side, it's hard. It's hard to explain. It's very hard to explain.
Yeah,
But
it
I
is.
say this to a lot of my friends: please don't, if you can, and if it's your thing, don't miss it out, because you'll be missing something that is absolutely overwhelming and just incredibly beautiful and very difficult to describe. It's very different, very, very difficult to describe. Answering your question on the 11-year-old, or if I was going to talk to myself when I'm younger, I would just say, you don't worry about the bullies. I was bullied a lot. Don't worry about the bullies. And be confident that by the time you are an adult, you'll find your path and to happiness. And I know you don't believe it now. You don't see it at all, but it is possible. Because at that time I certainly didn't believe it. And of course, like a lot of members of the community, I went through a phase where I was in the closet, of course. I dated women, of course. And I would say, if I would go back, is like, keep those friends, but don't date them. They are wonderful friends, but just don't. One of the hardest things about coming out, first of all, I fundamentally believe that I don't know anybody who has regretted coming out. So coming out is important. No one regrets it, as painful as it may be. But it is true that the moment you come out, you are basically declaring to a bunch of people, not your fault, but you're declaring to a bunch of people that you've been lying to them. And that is so hard. That is so hard. And it's hard on you, and it's hard on the other people. So a lot of people don't have a lot of patience for parents who react badly. And I always say, I've been helping a lot of people coming out, and I said, well, you have to be patient, because, they had their dreams. They were seeing you in the altar with the princess of their lives. You're not going to deliver that. So you got to give them time to adjust. You just killed that son or that
Absolutely.
daughter, and you are now introducing a new one, and takes time to adjust, I would say. It's not your fault, but it's not their fault. So give them time. So this is what I would say to my young. So it's like, avoid fooling people. Just try to come out as soon as you can, because one, you're going to have lots of fun, and number two, you will have a great life.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. John and I wrote letters to our 12-year-old selves, and it was a beautiful moment to be able to just take a step back and almost guide your 12-year-old self on what you know today. So we appreciate that.
Of course.
Okay, so to wrap this up, we wanted to do a little rapid fire game, Pedro, a little more lighthearted. So we're going to give you two options, and you're just going to tell us which one you actually prefer. Okay, so I'll start. A wine or a cocktail?
I don't drink.
I love
Perfect. A mocktail then.
The mocktail, that's right.
We share that in common. I love that, Pedro. So then, are you going to go espresso or cold brew? What kind of guy are you?
Latte.
Yum.
Yeah. Now, are you an early bird or a night owl?
What do you think?
I don't know. I was actually thinking this. I'm like, maybe he's an early bird. I am.
Yeah. And as a parent, you have no choice. But
yes.
Also that, and it's gotten almost worse.
Speaking about that arrangement of your life that is like not chosen by you, I guess this is one of those.
No, just give up. If you have control issues, trust me, you just need to be a parent. Control issues go away. That's it.
Gone.
That's so funny. Well, in this super digital world, are you more of like an in-person meeting guy, or do you care? Do you care if it's on a video call or not?
In-person meeting. I like in-person.
The energy.
Yeah.
It's always the energy.
The connection. The unspoken words, the vibe, all those things that you cannot really pick up, you cannot really describe. And I don't know why, but somehow it doesn't come across when you're doing a video call. It just doesn't, it's not the same thing.
It's harder, for sure. Are you data-driven or more gut instinct?
Do I have to choose? Not sure.
You could be somewhere in the middle. I was thinking that same answer for me. I'm like, I'm kind of in the middle of this.
Yeah. The instinct, instinct is really code for experience, right? It's just the I've seen these things around, but I like, also I work for a company, and you know this, Bryan, that not being data driven is not a good idea for you. So,
correct.
So you learn to find the happy middle.
Answer carefully, gentlemen. Your colleagues are listening. No, I'm just kidding. Are we big idea, Pedro, or a tactical executor?
It's actually both.
Yeah.
My mom used to say, strategy without execution is hallucination. And it's really, really true. So, and I remember, working with L'Oreal, which is one of the companies
Mhm.
I admire the most. And they used to say, I met the CEO one day for a meeting, and he said, Pedro, the execution is the strategy. And basically what he was trying to say is, it doesn't matter how many PowerPoints or decks you put together on big ideas that you want to have. If you actually don't execute them, it doesn't really matter. And actually doing the execution very, very well is more important for your strategy than not. So big ideas won't get you anywhere alone.
Love
Brian,
that.
Brian, before you ask, I just have to say, fun fact: I use L'Oreal True Match.
Oh, look at that.
That's
Good
how
job.
we. That's how we stay snatched
My
for the
God,
pod.
you should send your invoice to L'Oreal after this call.
We should.
Thanks, L'Oreal. Am I a cover girl yet?
All right, moving away from business, Pedro. Scruff or no scruff?
Scruff.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Manliness.
Yes.
Are you going up to the mountains for vacation, or are we finding our feet in the sand at the beach?
Beach, beach, beach,
Mm.
beach. Always beach. Yeah.
Answer this carefully, Pedro. Music or podcast?
Ooh, I don't have to choose.
Correct.
The choice has been painfully books or podcasts.
Mm.
And I'm not happy with it. I don't know how to fix it, to be honest. But podcasting killed my reading. And
Same.
I'm very unhappy about that. This has to do with the amount of time that you have available per day. And somehow podcasts took over what reading used to be. So I used to buy piles and piles of books and, going into the Barnes and Noble of the world and just going around and come back with 15 books. So half of which you would never read, but some of them you would. And that doesn't exist anymore. It's a shame. It's but podcasting took over completely. So I follow religiously, I don't know, 20 podcasts maybe. And so.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up with this last question, but I just have to say I love your rebellious spirit on this game. We've never had anybody say I'm choosing both, and I'm like I'm here for all of it, and I think it just
Welcome
I
to
agree.
the life of
it
it's
super coincides with your leadership and how your inner strength that you have. I love it. With that being said, here's the last one that I'm throwing up to you. You're from Lisbon. Your husband works in London, has mixed descent. London or Lisbon? Where do we land?
I work. We live in we live in London. London is home.
Yes.
We'll never forever be home. This is where we're going to be. But we go frequently to Lisbon every 6 weeks or something. We go there because we have a beautiful house by the beach. Kids love it, and it's our second home.
Are you guys down south by the Algarve?
No, it's
No,
closer
okay,
to Lisbon. Yeah,
beautiful. I love Lisbon. Anyway,
yeah.
Brian, I'm gonna let you wrap it up.
Are you thinking about moving to Portugal like everyone else? Because apparently you people are descending
It's
on.
true.
It is.
I've looked into a T9 visa. I'm not gonna lie.
Of course you did. Oh my God. It was so funny because, some years ago, I used to go to meetings and, the classic, in front of a bunch of executives from, I don't know whom. And I'll say, hi, my name is Pedro. I'm from Portugal. And people would be like, I'm like, yeah, Lisbon. Oh, and sometimes I would have one person that said, yeah, I've been there like 10 years ago or something. These days it's like, oh, I have a house there. Or I just became Portuguese. I just got my passport. Like literally.
It's on the map.
It's just unbelievable. Anyway.
Yeah, it's true. Well, Pedro, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
It was such a good conversation. We loved having you on. We appreciate it.
Well, I wish you the best of luck. Your podcast is amazing. He's doing a ton for our community. So thank you for that. Much needed voices were required. I absolutely love your episode with Bryan, who I follow as well on other Bryan. Without the
Brian,
Dr. Bryan.
Dr. Bryan Spatolnik, yes.
Exactly. And wishing you the best for your podcast. I don't know.
Thanks, Pedro.
Great work. It's needed. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This was Out Loud and Laughing.
We're available everywhere you get your podcasts. Spotify, Apple, YouTube, iHeart, or wherever.